Everyone, it's Michaela from A Peaceful Pursuit. In today's video, I want to bring you along as I share some of my tips about transitioning to coming home and becoming a full-time or even just a part-time if you work from home homemaker. This video is in collaboration with my friend Joy. She is over at She Builds Her Home. I hope that you guys do go and check her out. I think you will love her. She is first and foremost a Christian homemaker. She has 2 boys at 3 and under. She is a wife and she gives all the tips. She has been doing this longer than I have, so even though I'm going to be giving you some of my tips and are kind of like I'm walking this right now, which of course all of us are, but she is more experienced than I am. So if you want a ton of homemaking tips, definitely head to her channel. She actually also used to work full-time. She mostly worked in various like medical field type jobs, and then she came home full-time after she had her first son. So she's been a full-time homemaker since then. So she's got a few years under her belt of doing this and has lots of great tips. And she's just so sweet and just really wants to encourage homemakers and help us out in our homes, and so that we can thrive and be content and run our homes efficiently. Hope that you do go and check her out. I will have her linked down below. And yeah, this is in collaboration with her. So we're going to be sharing our best tips for transitioning to becoming a full-time homemaker or part-time, because I do work part-time from home. So I want to preface it with that I do work usually during nap times, during sleeping times. Other than that, I am with my baby and I'm tending to the home, taking care of him, the family life, all that good stuff. So I thought I would start off with my story briefly, because if you are new and you're coming over here from her channel, you aren't gonna know me. So I have always, well, let's see, let's back way up. Let's go back to high school, where you're doing career searching. And I would always get the careers that were like helping people, like, I don't even know. You take those quizzes, it would be like nursing, teacher, you know, just anything that was helpful to other people. I would get those kinds of things. To an extent, you know, some of those sounded interesting to me, but mostly they didn't. So I ended up going to college after high school, because that was kind of just what you did. And I got a 4-year bachelor's degree in music therapy, which is a helping profession. And I was also always very involved in music, so it kind of made sense. Like, it was a combination of things that I enjoyed. But all through college, even, I remember thinking like, I don't know that I want to do this like full-time. I thought maybe I would do it part-time. I don't know. There was always something off. Like, I love the field. I think it's a beautiful field and it's so helpful to people, but just something was always off for me. And then I started working at a gym daycare in college, and at that daycare, most of the moms were stay-at-home moms. They would bring their kids there for a couple hours, they would go work out, then they would go home, do the rest of the day. And that was in 2017 when I started working there, and that was the first time that I was like, wow, I think I actually want to stay home. Like, I think that's what I want to do. And then I wrestled with it for so long, finished my degree, because I was already pretty much, I was like over halfway in at that point, and got married. And then, I don't know, just ever since then it was like I just knew I wanted to be home once we had a baby, but I didn't know how that was gonna work financially, because it was not something that my husband and I discussed earlier on, because I didn't really know, you know, until like literally we got married. And then that was kind of like when I was like, oh, I think I want to be home. I realized it at that point, but I don't think that I was like set on it either then. Like, I was really wrestling with it because it felt wrong. So without giving away too much, I have other videos on this and I'll probably do more in the future, but December 2022 was when our first baby was due, and I was working full-time in a Christian daycare, and I ended up finding a work from home job that was super flexible. And so I was able to come home right before he was due. I would have done it sooner, honestly, but we couldn't, just because of insurance and the way that that was going to line up. So I didn't come home until literally 2 weeks before he was born. And so I was kind of just thrown into homemaking full-time and figuring out how to manage that with working part-time from home and then also having a newborn, my first baby. And even though I had worked in an infant room and I had spent a lot of time around babies, it is a totally different ballgame when it's your own child. So it was a huge adjustment for me. Also because I went through a major life change at the same time. So I think that that's part of it. All that to say, I definitely have experience in the adjustment because there is one. I'm still in it, but I feel like I'm starting to get a groove and it's been really great. So let's get on into the actual tips. So these are not really in any particular order. I just wrote them down as I was thinking of them, as I thought of things that have been helpful to me. So the first one is to give it time. Give yourself time. And this is going to look different for everyone. There is not really like a set amount of time. I am, let's see, it is September. So I'm almost 9 months into being home, plus having a baby. And I just now am starting to feel like I'm getting a groove down. And my husband also went back to school, so that is going to change things in, you know, within a couple of years, what our home life looks like. I don't know if I will keep working, like, it kind of just depends what things look like. So if I do ever stop working though, part-time from home, that's going to be another adjustment that I'm going to have to give myself more time. But I think really it's just you kind of have to surrender to the fact that you just have to figure it out. You just have to let things be a little bit, you know, up in the air. You're like, I'm learning. Every day is not going to be amazing. I'm not always going to have, I'm not going to feel like I have a great schedule or routine down. And you just have to give that time to kind of work itself out because you have to try different things. And so just kind of surrendering to the process and allowing yourself to be a beginner and learn and be in that transition, I think is really important, and it helps you to have more realistic expectations. So my next tip is to get out of the house, but I want to be careful with this because I fell into this trap too, where you start to feel like, wow, I need to get out, like you need to escape the home, and that is the enemy. That is not coming from an actual like view of the home as being important. It really does matter and it is vital, and I think it's so good for children just to be home with their moms, to be tending to the home together, to slow down and just hang out with your children on the floor, get down and play with them. Obviously there's things you have to get done too, but that is just so good for them, and it's good for them to see you not rushing as well. But anyway, I do still think it's important to get out. Maybe at the beginning start with like once a day. That's kind of what I did because I was really struggling. Also, our winter this year lasted forever and I had some postpartum depression, so I did try to get out usually about once a day. But I also was believing lies like, oh, my baby needs to like get out and do things, and it's like he was like 3 months old, like he just wants to be with me, like he didn't need to go to all these activities or anything. Again, there's kind of some lies that you have to weed through with that, but now I feel like I'm at a really happy medium where I try to get us out about twice a week. That doesn't mean that we're like literally in our house all the other hours because we go for walks and stuff, but we meet up with other moms about twice a week. I can't really do much more than 3 times simply because I do work part-time from home, and if I get off on our routine, we don't have like a set schedule by the clock, but if I get off on our routine then I get behind and then I have to stay up late, and then that's kind of a problem. So for us, anywhere from 1 to 3 times meeting up with other moms and their kids is so beneficial for my mental health. It's also just great to have some adult conversation. One of the groups that I do is just like a regular moms group, and then I'm also doing a moms Bible study group with the kids too, and I think sometimes the kids won't be there, like we'll have like somebody who comes to watch them, but it's so important. Like you really need that adult interaction, especially for your mental health, and it's good for the kids too to get to be around other children and just socialize in that way. I don't think that you should be trying to escape the home. It's very important, but you do need community, you do need other people, and being in your home all the time can be very isolating. So I think it's important to kind of have a happy medium of getting out of the house and staying home. My next tip is to learn to slow down, and this is going to be a many years long endeavor for me because I lived my entire life up until now go, 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 rush, 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 busy, busy, busy all the time, that it's very hard for me to undo that. But as I have been learning to do it, it is so good, and I just don't feel as stressed. Like I'll still feel stressed some days where I'm like, oh, I have so much to do. I just slow down, you know, I'll just get on the floor with my baby and play with him for like 30 minutes and just not think about anything else. Like we just be together, or you know, we go sit out in the yard and play. We go outside with the dogs. Like, we just do different things like that to slow down and to help me not feel like I need to be productive literally every second of the day, because if I get into that, I will be productive from the minute we get up and I'm making breakfast and I'm cleaning until I go to bed. Like, I am just horrible at resting. And then when I would try to rest, it would be the opposite way, where I would just be lazy and not do anything at all. And then you feel really unmotivated. You don't even feel good because it's not actually restful. So learning to slow down, I think it really helps you to function from a place of rest versus being productive and then trying to rest. And it's been a real game changer. Again, this looks different for everyone. Everyone has kind of like their own idea of slow. However, there is also like a line with that, I think, because some people could be like, oh, I'm resting, you know, like, oh, I'm taking the weekend to not do anything and I'm just like indulging in relaxation and all that stuff. But I don't know, rest comes from so many different places. It comes from your relationships, it comes from God. And if you're also not giving attention to those, then you're kind of doing what I was doing, where you're not really properly resting. You're just bouncing back and forth between busy and lazy, and there's definitely a middle ground with that as well. So my next tip is to play around with schedules and routines. Now, if you are someone that likes to be by the clock, more power to you. I have actually found that made me way more stressed out. We do have a routine or a rhythm, I guess. We kind of do the same thing every morning. You know, we have breakfast, we read our Bible, clean up. In the summer, we've gone for a walk. We won't be able to probably do that in the winter, but we have rhythms. And my son does take naps around the same time every day. It's like within a half hour usually. But I try not to get too stuck to the clock, because it just is so stressful, and it just brought back how I felt when I was working full time and how I just didn't have time for things, and I just didn't like it. So for us personally, I feel like a rhythm is much better. If that doesn't work for you, you know, you just have to figure out what helps you and your family to thrive. That's going to look different for every family, but for us it's rhythms. And I am still kind of playing around with this. Right now he's on 2 naps a day, and he will be on 2 naps for a while, like probably till he's a little over 1. But when he drops to 1 nap, obviously things will change a little bit, because I won't have that morning time slot, which is when I usually like work on YouTube or do my work or whatever. But that will change when that time comes. But I've played around with a lot of different things, and it's hard because some days you're like, okay, I'm gonna try this, and if it doesn't work, you know, things kind of get all messed up and you have to just kind of roll with it. But you will settle into a rhythm, whether you want it to be super strict or not. You just naturally will eventually, but it definitely does take some playing around. So the next thing that I want to bring up is to take time to do things that you enjoy. This has gotten easier for me. You'd think it would have been easier when he was a newborn, because I could have just put him in the wrap and like did things, but I just struggled so much with like feeling like I had to be doing activities with him. And I don't know why, I don't know where that came from. I think the culture, but now he will sit and play, and he just loves to be right behind me in the kitchen. So as long as he's close, I'll give him something safe to play with. Sometimes it's like Tupperware or whatever, like he just wants to play with that stuff. Sometimes it's actual toys that he has, but he just wants to be close and play. And then I can do, you know, I can bake my muffins, I can work on my sourdough, or whatever else I'm working on. Sometimes it's decorating the house. Like, he just wants to be by me. And so when I really started to make sure that I was taking time to do those things, and it's very short, you know, like I can spend, okay, I'm just gonna take 20 minutes to decorate my living room or whatever for fall, and it just brings you so much joy. Like, you made your house beautiful, you made it cozy for your family, you did something that you love to do. Whatever it is, if it's crafting, if it's sewing, you know, just bring your child alongside you. Give them something to do. When they're older, they can even help you. My baby can't do that yet, but he just wants to be near, and it's just been such a game changer for me to do those things, because it's pouring into my own soul. It's stuff that I love to do, and it's also benefiting my home, and then it's benefiting my relationship with my child, because, you know, I'm just like feeling better, I'm feeling lighter, and he's near me. Like, we're kind of doing our own things, but we're together. So I think that that's really important. You need to make time for the things that you enjoy. My next tip is to take time to read aloud and play with your children. I don't feel like I've had a good day if I don't do one thing that I enjoy, and if I don't take time to sit and play with my baby. So usually each of those things are, you know, maybe 30 minutes here and there, or sometimes it's like 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. It adds up to like an hour each. I don't know. I don't keep track because I feel like that's silly. But if I do one thing that brings me joy, so maybe I paint something, maybe I bake some muffins, and then I also make sure that I get on the floor with him and just intentionally pour into him, read him some books, you know, let him explore the toys with me, I feel like we have had a pretty good day. Now, whatever else happens, like if the house is not totally picked up, I didn't get to this chore, you know, whatever. It's like if I do those two things and I keep up with just the basics, like the dishes and stuff that keep the house running, then we're doing pretty good, because I have to give myself a lot more grace with all of this because I do work. I'm not just full-time home, so I don't have as much leeway in my days, but that really helps. I think it's really important. And kids, they just want you to pour into them in that way. They just want you to get on their level and be with them, but not falling into the other lie that I did at the beginning, where that has to be constant all day, because that's not realistic. As your children grow, they're gonna have to join the family team, care for the house, do chores, like that's gonna have to be a thing. So, you know, they don't need you to be in their face like constantly, but it is important to take intentional time to pour into them. Now, my next tip, I've kind of alluded to this already, but bring your children alongside of you. This is a little bit hard when you just have a baby that can't help. So, you know, when I run and grab laundry, sometimes I'll bring him with me, but if I have to carry the basket, like I can't really do that. I'll put him in the wrap. I have a back carry that I'll do that sometimes, but as he gets bigger, that isn't gonna work either. So sometimes I'll just run and grab the laundry, and then, you know, we'll sit in his room and I will fold laundry and let him pull stuff out of the basket. Like, he just thinks it's so fun. He has no idea that it's work, you know, he just is like, oh, this is what we're doing. And so, yeah, and I fully intend, as he becomes a toddler and everything, I fully intend to bring him along with me. It's going to take twice as long, but it's so good for them to just be involved in the home. They will learn life skills that way. You will get things done, maybe not as quickly as you would like, but you will also be building that bond and that relationship, and it's just beautiful for them to learn that and for you guys to build that bond together. So my next tip is to open up your home, and I'm going to be fully transparent. This is one that I am still working on. We are very busy right now. My husband is working full-time. He's also in school, and it's just not something that I guess I've been used to. We'll have like family over and stuff, but I want to open it up for other moms, other couples. Like, I just want to do that more. It's just, it's a skill, it's a muscle that I have not worked really. But now that I am doing a mom's Bible study too, we meet in people's homes, so I will have the opportunity to do that for them. But I think just being hospitable and preparing things for other people, it really just, I don't know, it makes you feel so good. Like, you love it when you do it, and it gets you outside of yourself. So I think that that is a big help. Plus, it's great, you know, relationships, community, not being isolated. There's just so many good things about it. So I recommend that, but with the caveat that I'm still working on all of these, but I'm very much working on that one. And then my final tip is to remember what God says about the home. And if you are not a Christian, but you just kind of have these more traditional values and you feel that the home is very important, remember your why. Just keep coming back to that. From a Christian perspective, I heard Sally Clarkson say once that a woman in her home is a huge target, and absolutely. And I don't want to be like I don't want to be flattering myself or anything and saying that I was spiritually attacked or anything, but I definitely felt a lot of that. Some of it, of course, was just hormones after having a baby, but it was just like I was starting to think these things like, what am I even doing? This is pointless. Like, this doesn't even matter. Why am I doing this? I should just go get a different job outside the home. But then I remember, like, I don't want my baby in daycare. Like, I want to be there for all of his moments, you know. I don't want to be stressed out working 40 hours, even 20 hours outside of the home. Like, I just want to be here and be able to slow down, pour into my family, my husband and my child, and we have 2 dogs in our home. And it's just, those thoughts still sometimes creep in, but they're not true. So remembering how God views the home, and just remembering that the souls that are in your home are so important, and they are so worthy of our time and efforts and anything that is saying otherwise is a complete lie. And I think it's just so important to remember that, because it can be really hard, especially, you know, as things are repetitive. It's just like you just kind of get stuck in the mundane and you're like, why am I doing this? But it really is very important, and you just have to preach that truth to yourself, and it will eventually, you know, start to stick, and you'll gain your footing back, and you'll be like, this is what I used to think before, and then I started doing it, and then it was like I questioned everything. But it will start to come back. You just have to preach that truth to yourself, renew your mind in God's word, and just hold fast to what he says. So all of these tips have been so helpful for me as I transitioned to coming home. I hope that they are helpful for you. Make sure that you check out Joy's channel below. And if you are coming from her channel, welcome. I hope that you will stick around and hit that subscribe button. We would absolutely love to have you here on Peaceful Pursuit. I upload every single Friday, generally homemaking content. Sometimes it's a vlog style. Sometimes it's what I'm making in the kitchen. Sometimes it's a sit down kind of like this. But I hope that you will subscribe and make sure to give this video a thumbs up to let me know that you liked it. And I will see you next week.